Button's pushing. 6 o'clock on the dot.
It is 6 p.m. November 18th is the regular meeting of the Common Council of the City of Oneonta, and with your assistance, we'll call this meeting to order.
Mayor Drennick.
Here.
Councilmember Mosier Campoli.
Here.
Councilmember Welsh Russo.
Here.
Councilmember McHugh.
Here.
Councilmember Lepari Shu. Councilmember Carson.
Here.
Councilmember Harrington.
Here.
Councilmember Forrester Rothbart. Councilmember Matheson.
Here. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, folks. So about a month and a half ago, thereabouts, the Community Police Board met on a special meeting and worked to put together this resolution that it is my honor to put in front of you this evening. Motion that the Common Council approves the following resolution. Resolution on the federal government's immigrant seizure, detention, and deportation policies. Whereas there are immigrants seeking asylum in the United States who live and work in Otsego County and the City of Oneonta and are law-abiding members of their communities and valued employees. And whereas among those immigrants are persons who have been subject to seizure, detention, and deportation by actions of the Federal Department of Homeland Security. And whereas the City of Oneonta is home to people of diverse backgrounds, abilities, and identities from communities of diverse beliefs and cultures, including immigrants and native-born citizens. And whereas the City of Oneonta, as a regional center for commerce, higher education, healthcare, and culture, welcomes people from throughout our region, nation, and world. And whereas the City of Oneonta supports comprehensive due process, as well as humane treatment and strict adherence to constitutional legal procedures for all immigrant members of our community. And whereas the seizure, detention, and impending deportation of law-abiding immigrants have adverse impacts on the economy, health, and welfare of residents of the City of Oneonta and its business community. And whereas the seizure, detention, and impending deportation of law-abiding immigrants is contrary to the values of the rule of law and due process owed to all persons. And whereas the City of Oneonta is a community committed to dignity, freedom, equality, and safety for all, now therefore be it resolved, the Common Council of the City of Oneonta, number one, condemns the seizure, detention, and impending deportation of law-abiding immigrants. 2, steadfastly affirms the City of Oneonta's dedication to the rights and dignity of all people. 3, denounces in the strongest terms the increase of hate speech, intimidation, violence, and hate crimes targeted against immigrants, refugees, and people of diverse racial, ethnic, religious, and linguistic backgrounds. 4, recognizes that people of every background, irrespective of race, religious belief, national origin, and language, have made countless positive contributions to our community. Do I have a motion to approve? I've got Don, followed by everybody, followed by Elaine. Discussion? Len?
I asked you, just for the record, so our city attorney and city police chief have signed off on this resolution?
Depends on what you mean by sign off.
Does this put this legislative body at any point of litigation with any party that,
With the caveat that anybody can sue anybody for any reason. I see no objection to it.
and this is in reference to truly immigrants that are following through the immigration process that are law-abiding, correct?
That's what it says.
It says what it says.
Further discussion? Mike?
I just want to say that I'm delighted this city is passing this, and I think you all know that I pushed for something stronger, but I was convinced by my colleagues that what we most need is something that we can all people know that we've got their backs, basically.
Further discussion? All right, let's take the vote.
Councilmember Mosher Campoli.
Aye.
Councilmember Welsh Russo.
Aye.
Councilmember McHugh.
Aye.
Councilmember Carson.
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington.
Yes.
Councilmember Forrester Rothbard.
Aye.
Councilmember Matheson.
Yes.
All right, very good. Now, folks that have agendas and might be confused by the following, we're going to lose a council member in about 20 minutes to another meeting. And it's important, I think, that all council members are in place for a conversation regarding our tentative budget. And so therefore, we're going to go to motion 8, and then we'll come back to our regular agenda. Motion number 8, that the Common Council approves the 2026 tentative budget as presented for a public hearing to be held at a special meeting of the Common Council to be scheduled for November 25th, 2025 at 6 p.m. Do I have a motion to approve? I've got Elaine, followed by Cecilia. And this is where we have discussion of anything that you'd like to think might be modified or in other fashions. Scott, did you have something?
No, I think we hammered it out over the last
Yeah.
few days,
Agreed.
weeks, months.
Is there any discussion? We'll take a vote.
Councilmember Mosher Campoli.
Aye.
Councilmember Welsh Russo.
Aye.
Councilmember McHugh.
Aye.
Councilmember Lepari Shu.
Aye.
Councilmember Carson.
Yes.
Councilmember Harrington.
Yes.
Councilmember Forrester Rothbard.
Yes.
Councilmember Matheson.
Okay, thank you very much for that, folks. All right, we do have a, excuse me, a public hearing. We have a public hearing to receive comments on the City of Oneonta's current Community Development Block Grant at CDBG Project 847 HR 321-23, Single Family Housing Rehabilitation for $500,000 with the principal purpose of benefiting low to moderate income persons. And I'd like to open the floor to this public hearing, but I also want to recognize Judy Pangman, who will take it from here, if you don't mind, Judy.
Okay, I'm gonna pass around the sign-in sheet, and appreciate if everybody can sign in, even if you don't have any comments or interest in this public hearing, you still need to have the sign-in sheet for the funding agency. So this public hearing is the second of 2 required public hearings, under the Community Development Block Grant Program. This is done in the administrative phase, so we can, explain how the program went, because it's nearly complete now, answer any questions that people might have. And we did have a handout, which is actually here if anybody wants it, which describes the program. It's in the back of the agenda and these attachments. So just in a nutshell, the program, it was for a single-family owner-occupied housing rehabilitation grant program. It was a $500,000 grant that the city received, and then we awarded it to income-eligible homeowners throughout the city. We ultimately completed 12 structures. The rehabilitation grant portion was $410,000 out of the $500,000. The rest was for funds for us to hire a consultant who helped us administer the program. The grant will be completed in January. We consider it a success to help 12 of our neighbors be able to stay in their homes and meet code. That's pretty much all I had, so if you have any comments or.
And if anyone does have a comment, please raise your hand.
Could you pass those around? They're up, they're right in front of you on the banner. Oh, thank you. You're welcome.
All right, seeing no hands raised, and my presumption is that there's nobody that seeks to comment, we're going to close this public hearing. Thank you very much for your assistance there, Judy, and thank you all who have been signing in. Please continue to do that till the sheet makes its way back to Judy. At this point, I want to open the conversation, one way as it may be, to petitioners. And anybody who would like to speak, the way that we do this, as you know, is we'll ask you to make your way to the podium where we are mic'd, and we are actually, are we streaming?
We're recording.
Not, oh, we're recording, not
Yep.
streaming. All right, we're recording, not streaming. We're getting there. Not there yet, but nonetheless, make your way to the podium, introduce yourself, tell us where you live, and then if you can keep this to about 3 minutes. Paul? Yes.
Thank you for this opportunity. I was distressed last night when I got off from work and got off at exit 14.
Paul,
Oh, I'm sorry.
your name
I'm
is?
sorry. Paul Patterson, 40 Elm Street,
Thank you very much.
Oneonta, New York.
Appreciate
Transportation.
it. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyway, I was very distressed last night when I got off of exit 14 coming home from work about 4:30 last night. And once again, there was a major tie-up on the lower Main Street heading towards Route 28. And our fire department was deployed, blocking the road as necessary to clean up the mess that was there. So this is not the first time, okay? I go by there 8 times a day between going back and forth to work and driving bus. So I see a lot of what happens. I've got pictures in my phones of tie-ups that go up over the viaduct from that point, okay? However, I was further distressed when I came home this evening and picked up the paper and says, we're gonna get this done by the end of the year. The point isn't when the construction gets done, but what are we doing in the interim? I invite all of you to join me tomorrow morning at 9:30 over at the traffic circle, and you'll see that the ramp that goes to Southside is in much better condition than the ramp that comes off of Southside, okay? We've got some barricades there. We have some cones and whatnot. We probably would have to move the outhouse or the porta potty, maybe 50 feet. But we endured coming off of Southside for quite a while, bumpy roads, raised sewers and whatnot, but we managed. Now they're talking about lights. We're currently using that roundabout 3/4 of the way with the same amount of lights. So I'm trying to figure out, we can't figure out a way to open that so traffic goes to Southside. We can't get little flashing battery packs as they put in so many construction sites. And when you think about it, we have Thanksgiving coming up. Shopping is increasing. We have Christmas coming. And the lines to the south side are going to get worse. And I know people have complained about overtime in the fire department. Why are we having to send fire departments out so often? Because we can't handle traffic. Our police department is stretched. They have to be involved. It's very simple. Open that lane. Now, you're going to say, well, this is a state problem. Well, no. This is our city. We complain a lot and loud enough, we can make things happen. I'm going to talk to our state senator and state assembly tomorrow. We have to move it. And you as a council, if you're responsible for the citizens of Oneonta, you don't want your kids, your mom, your dad, your friends having to deal with that. If you can avoid an accident, you avoid it. There are simple ways to do this. It's not rocket science. There's ways that we can improve this by simply opening that ramp to Southside and relieving all that congestion and all the traffic, okay? So I thank you for pushing, and I think it's your obligation as our representatives to do whatever you can to make a stink and move this along. You know, they said, I talked to one of the workers today, and he said, it's probably they're telling us maybe the second week in December we can open that ramp. Why wait 2 weeks? Why take the chance of getting people hurt? We can't knowingly let this go on. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Everyone, anybody else who would like to speak? Yes?
David Hutchison, 2 Irving Place. I'm very much interested in this logging situation out in the watershed. I came to Oneonta in 1967 to teach geology at Hartwick, and in those 50 some odd years, there have been an awful lot of changes in the city, some good, some not so good. But I never really dreamed much about what was going on in the watershed until actually last Friday when I read in the Daily Star that logging was taking place up there, etc. Monday morning, I happened to be going to Cooperstown up East Street, and lo and behold, there was a truck loaded with logs already. So it's in progress now. I guess My concern is that there has been so much change. I try to anticipate in the future what the change might be, and we don't know, hard to figure out. But one thing I think we can say is we do want to save any territory that we have that has good living oak trees in it. The real value to me in an oak tree that's 200 years old is what it's going to be like in another 200 or 150, whatever. So I hope that, I believe that the city has reconsidered or is going to be in discussion with the logger. A contract has been signed, I believe, what I read, and I guess that still is under being consideration. I don't know. But I just hope that the city gives some consideration as to saving some of the old oak trees. It's just something we just can't lose. It's just, they're too valuable. The real value isn't in now, the real value is in another 35, 45, 50 years. So I think some of you have gotten the letter that I sent to, Carrie put it out, and I sent it to Forrester, to Michael Forrester Robarth and Carrie Harrington, et cetera. So do give some consideration to that, and I hope that maybe it can be reworked with the logger out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Cynthia?
Cynthia Walton Levitt, 15 Ravine Parkway in the 7th Ward. First of all, thank you, council people, for your, I just can't believe how many hours you put in a month on behalf of the city. It's just amazing, and thank you very much for your service to the citizens and residents of this beautiful city, and to our guests. I'm here today to voice my concern about the logging of the trees, and I was hoping you were going to go into some of the environmental reasons why it should be saved, but I think if you all read the Daily Star article, you know about the concerns that Conservation Association has voiced and others, and I hope that if you have not had an opportunity to read those concerns, that you will. I agree that gleaning trees is a helpful way to keep a forest healthy. I agree that the city needs to find ways to increase revenue. However, according to the notice that City Clerk Carrie Ann Harrington sent out dated November 13th, that might have been the same one. And no, it was a different one. Anyway, one of your notices, one of your many, many notices. The logging contract was to harvest 1,973 trees for a gross amount of 215,181, so 215,181. That's about $109 a tree. According to the Daily Star article, the city anticipates receiving about $185,000 for those trees, about 1,900, almost 2,000 trees. That's about $94 a tree. Our church is purchasing a 6 to 7 foot Christmas tree in the next couple of weeks, and we anticipate paying $175 per tree. And I suggest that if you want to make some money from logging, that the city consider starting a Christmas tree farm. Just a thought. When you can get $175 and up for trees. Christmas trees, as you know, grow much faster than hardwood trees, and that are very precious and valuable, not only for us today, but certainly in the future. There are a variety of things that they contribute to the environment that I don't know about, but Dave does and can tell you more about it at some point.
I'm a geologist.
Well, that's true. Okay, well, or Donna Vogler or someone else. Well, I do also know that change orders are something that one does when there are contracts. And so I'm wondering if, in fact, you've considered a change order of the almost 2,000 trees that are being harvested. If, in fact, any of them are left, I don't know if the job is done yet or not. I encourage you to stop and just look and evaluate what's been happening. I also wonder if the logging contract has a penalty clause for any trees that are harvested that are too close to the riparian buffer zones or other things that were laid out in the contract. if they in fact have cut those trees, is there a penalty clause? If there isn't, I suggest you think about that in the future. So the land and the trees belong to all of us, the residents and taxpayers of the city of Oneonta, and now that I'm a taxpayer, I feel like I can speak here from time to time. Council members, I thank you for working with the arborists and experts on environmental management of the forest, not just timber agents. Timber agents have one agenda, environmental folks and arborists have another one. I hope that you'll listen to both voices when you make your decisions in the future. This is valuable land. It's in your care for the sake of all of us, but mostly for the sake of continuing future generations. And finally, I have never actually been to this property, and I didn't even know it was open to the public, and I look forward to the city council, us all getting our hiking boots on and going up there for a trip just to see the land. I think that would be great if you would all help lead us in some kind of exploration of the land that belongs to us as a city. I think that'd be great. And we can learn more about the environment, more about what you're doing as a council, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Bob? Well, I'm also here to talk about the city property in the town of Oneonta. My concerns are in part because of the harvesting.
Bob, I just need your name.
Oh, sorry, Bob Rosowski, 43 Church Street, excuse me.
Thanks.
My concerns are in part because of the harvesting environmental impact, especially the potential harvesting of old growth trees or ancillary damage to them, but also damage to the built environment of the area, the Gifford Peat Cemetery, the many remains of settlements in the area, including foundations, cellar holes of 19th century homes and outbuildings, and also the berms made decades ago to be on both sides of Oneonta Creek. I urge the city in general and the city administrator, the mayor, and common council in particular to ensure that there are appropriate setbacks, seems 100 feet or more, around these natural and cultural features to help ensure that there is no damage from falling trees or from equipment used in the harvesting. Thanks for considering it.
Have anybody else who'd like to speak? All right, well, I'll be closing the petitioner section then. Thank you very much for your input. And we have 2 letters that have gone to council, am I right?
2 letters, they're printed and on their desks for review, one from David Ainsworth and a copy of a letter from David Hutchison.
Here we go. All righty. I want to go to our liaison for the environmental board and let you speak, Mike, to what's been the conversation in the environmental board.
Well, I plan to say a few things about the environmental board, but then I guess I'll get to the trees because that's what's on people's minds. I'm happy to say that the environmental board has sort of been having like process conversations, which hadn't really happened previously, about like how can we do our job better, and I think I'm looking forward to seeing what they do next year. And as they've also been working on their annual report, that I don't know when they're supposed to get to the council,
They
but
give it to me by the end of the year.
okay. But,
I distribute it.
that like I've actually been impressed that they are sort of touching so many ways. There's a landscape committee, energy committee, and sorry, I'm forgetting the other 2. Anyway, the second thing that I have on my list to talk about is the solar farm on Silas Lane. The environmental board was very strongly in support of that. And then the third thing that we spent most of our last meeting talking about was this logging. So Greg said that he wanted to hear from council that we, not just me personally, but that we as a council support the idea of city staff taking the time to meet with the logging representative to see if that's an option. I think it's a situation that can sort of hopefully make everybody happy. There were 4 sites. You guys saw the letter from the environmental board, I think, in the packet, so I don't need to rehash that in detail, but just basically there were 4 sites that they were interested in protecting, and one of those has already been cut, but the other 3, one is what Bob Brzezinski said about one's around the cemetery that's up there, and the other 2 sites are along creeks, and they're concerned about water quality. So I don't think it makes sense during committee reports, but maybe at some point
Actually,
later
this is not a terrible time. So what specifically is it that you'd like the council to discuss?
The request, let me pull out my, I was texting with Chris today. Chris is off today, so he couldn't be here. So let me just pull out my phone. Okay, so according to OCCA, Green Lumber proposed swapping trees with the city for an equal value of timber elsewhere on city land. And Chris Akabuchi said that sounds good to him, and he would presumably be the one negotiating. So I think what council would need is just I don't know, it needs to be a formal vote or just a sense that we.
I don't think it's a requirement of formal vote, unless I'm corrected on that. It's basically, yes, Scott?
Who is OCCA to reach out on our behalf? That is that is not right.
I know the background for that.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, it's not right for them to reach out and start these conversations. This is a city project, and that to me is completely inappropriate. And OCCA needs to have something from you, Mark, or Greg, that says, please do not do this in the future. If you have an issue, you need to come to the council, and the council will do the directive. This is just wrong that they're trying to do it on our behalf.
So we can't change that, Scott, I hear you. We can't change that, but we can, in this moment, have the council take a role in determining whether or not the city administrator and Chris in his role engage in conversations to push this forward. I hear you. But in this moment, I think what we're looking to do is get direction from council to the city administrator. Yes,
Yeah,
Elaine.
I think it's unfortunate that Chris, our Director of Public Works, can't be here to provide further information, especially for the public, because I think one of the things that has been missing is, his input on this. Because I want people to know that as of now, no regulations, the regulations have all been followed, the way that they were supposed to. I understand, and we are committed to, environmental, security for this city. But I just want to reassure the public that nothing untoward has happened, at this point. This is, about, there is looking at developing forest management plan, but I do just really want to reassure the public. I'm hearing all of the comments. I've gotten lots of feedback via email and, elsewhere, and so I just, some of the responses that I've written to people, include just reassuring people that the DEC and other regulations are currently being followed. What we're looking at is additional on top of that, okay? Which includes looking at like a forest management plan, okay? But Chris Iacobucci came up with like 18 points, that were really, really helpful in understanding the context for this. And, Greg, I know that you were familiar with that. I don't know if there's any that you feel like are important to bring out right now, but I just want to reassure people that, the city is doing what is necessary, and now we're looking at doing more.
Elaine, Cecilia?
So I just had a couple of points, but I want to just respond and reiterate Elaine's point, that I think the public really needs to be aware that the city has followed and done due diligence on this project, that there's not been anything, I think your word was untoward. And so that this is what's being proposed. proposed now is in addition to everything that's been appropriately and legally followed. So that's just to reiterate. But I had 2 points I wanted to make. One, my sense, Scott, is that this is, and I don't want to personalize this, but I think OCCA was trying to be an interlocutor between the city and the logging company. I mean, I think it was, you know, we could talk further about the appropriateness of that, but I think, and it's in no way a defense of what they were trying to do, but I think that was the meaning or the message, to kind of be a broker between these two parties. Whether or not that's appropriate, we could have a broader discussion, but that's how I read the situation. And then the other question I have is, does the Director of Public Works have time to meet with the logging company and go through and make sure that everything is now going to be swapped out? So that's my question. And Chris, of course, isn't here, unfortunately, as we pointed out now several times, but I think it's a legitimate concern that I would have as a council member.
Yeah, and so with that more full context, the question still is in front of the council as to whether or not they're directing the city administrator and Chris to engage in these conversations or not. Yes.
A couple of points, just because I have had more of these conversations. One thing, which I think Chris mentioned in his email today, is that the timber agent is sort of the city's representative, and so I don't think Chris would actually go out there and look at trees. I assume that, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I assume that that would be the timber agent who would actually do that and report back to Chris. And the other thing that I sent that 10 o'clock, something like that this morning. The other thing, Scott, to your point, I know that that originally, originally they were trying to see if they could buy the trees, and the logging company wasn't really interested in that, and I think that's how it progressed to this point. So they were like, I think there's a conversation about if we raise money, can we just pay you for the trees? And so it evolved to this idea of swapping trees.
Which is in response, a lot of this is in response to people's perception and concern and even fear of the fact that the city is not acting appropriately relative to the environment, Tree City notwithstanding that we are, or that there isn't a reasonable idea of what a forest management plan might look like, although obviously the environmental board's already stepped up to say that that's something they're looking to engage themselves in moving forward. So the question is going to be deferred, and so I can hear from Cecilia.
No, I just wanted to clarify that the term city staff was used. That was why I brought in Chris Iacobucci.
Yes.
I just wanted to clarify that was my question, because the term specifically spoke to the use of city staff time.
Right. So I guess my overarching point, and we've seen this happen so many times, so in my 4 years certainly, where the information isn't necessarily accurately depicted and people react to that, and their concern is genuine, you know. So the question is, I think, in front of council, and Greg, I think you need to speak to the imposition and potential redundancy that's involved in your being directed by council to engage in these conversations.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, the council in September, I think it was September, approved this contract and moving forward with it. So to reverse course or to do a change order to eliminate some of the scope of the project, for whatever reason there may be, I think that's something that has to come from the council at this point. Otherwise, for us to spend time looking into that option, there is time involved. Well, for Chris, there's probably cost involved for our timber agent to do work, rework on the soap that he's already done. I think that's something that we just want to make sure we're acting, in furtherance of the will of the council. He willed 7-0, I believe it was, go forward with the contract. So is there a different direction we want to take? We just want to hear that from the council, and then we can go forward and do that. Of course, it changes our priorities. Something else is not going to get done. There's always too many things to do. But if that's what the council would like to prioritize, then that's what we'll pursue.
So that's the question, Elaine.
Yeah, I guess, so I do have a question about how changing a contract at this point might impact future contracts that we engage in. I'm definitely concerned about, diverting staff time, and how that will impact DPW. At this point, I really appreciate the idea of a forest management plan, and I think, taking a well-thought-out, measured, and planned approach is the way to go, and I question whether changing a contract at this point is going to be, make the best impact. So again, I just want to know what, if we anticipate that there could be any impact on future contracts if we change a contract at this point that we've already engaged in.
Scott?
Do we know how many trees we're talking about that we're gonna swap? I think that's the big issue. Like, if it's only like 2, 3, maybe a dozen, that's different than if we're talking about half an acre, 500 tree. I mean, to make a really decision, that's.
Right. So Mike, is that a question you can answer?
I can pull it out from the document I got.
I tried, I can't.
So, give me a minute. There are two categories of trees. One is trees that are being cut for timber, which is where we get most of the money. And then there are also trees that are like cut for pulpwood, basically trees that are in the way, get cut and made into either firewood or wood chips or that kind of thing, which basically don't pay anything. So the two categories combined, I think it's about 50 trees. My computer just died, so I can't give you the exact number. But
And those 50 would be the ones that are swapped out?
About 50 trees out of the 4,000 total that are in the part of the.
And these trees have been identified?
Yeah, I got a list from OCCA, and I think, Greg, did you get that list today?
I have an email from today. I haven't looked at yet. There's an Excel file. I don't know what it is.
And what area of Land Lake?
They are
You said
cutting.
3 different spots. 'Cause we're
Yeah,
looking at one.
so they're cutting in 9 different locations total. The 3 locations, one is along the creek that flows out of College Camp. Second one is just above Lower Cross Road where the cemetery and 200-year-old cellar holes are, that the Historical Society was interested in preservation. And the third is up by Hole Road, also along Oneonta Creek, but like the upper reaches of Oneonta Creek above the reservoir.
Is this, the cemetery's marked?
The cemetery.
Or is that like a settlement that really is not marked, but we know it's there?
We know it's there. I think we recently rediscovered that it was there.
Yes, yeah, a lot of us discovered it for the first time. It's been there for a while.
Because I didn't even know there was a cemetery up there.
Yeah, the stones date back 150 years thereabouts.
It's the Gifford family and Peen family.
Yes. So getting, for clarification's sake, following Scott's line of thinking, there are a defined number of trees. They're specifically identifiable on a map or by virtue of somebody tagging them. So we're talking about a small number of trees in the larger scale,
Right.
thousands
It's
that we're looking at.
Between 1% and 2% of the total number of trees.
And so the question in front of the council is this something that the city administrator should be directed to pursue by way of conversation? And going
You can go to Scott first.
Oh, Scott, okay. Scott.
So, Greg, did you know the cemetery was up there by any chance?
Yeah, we've been aware of that.
And
for
how
a while.
far away from the cemetery are we?
I can't say distance, but I understand that Rod Jones, Chris Yakubuchi, they're well aware of the location and avoiding that. Now, in number of feet, what does that mean? I'm not certain. I'd have to ask Rod if that's not already been shared.
Let me go to Katie first, and I'll come back to you.
I also would say that the cemetery is of primary concern to me. Just in general, I think it's like, if we were to disturb that, that's not a that we have had a lot of good feedback of how to improve the process in the future. And I don't necessarily support doubling back entirely on this to identify 50 more trees, even if, whether it's Chris Yakabuchi or an agent of the city. But the cemetery, I think if we focus on that site, getting, that would bring the number of trees down, which I think would be probably to a reasonable number, depending on how far away the trees that we're removing are from the site. And I think that we could preserve that. My initial inclination was to try to save cellar holes, but I think that those may be better documented through photographs and if they're damaged by this process. Obviously, that's not ideal, but I think that's my take. I think we should concern ourselves with not disturbing a cemetery.
So before I go to, I think, Mike, so your suggestion is that the city administrator
Identify the trees, and even trees where, they may run equipment over the cemetery or anything like that, but prioritize preservation of the cemetery site. And if we need to swap a low number of trees that would otherwise disturb an existing cemetery, that we should do that, but I don't think that we should swap 50 trees from the contract at this point, knowing that protocols are being followed and that professionals have put thought and considerable consideration into the trees that have been selected. That it wasn't just over there looks good.
Sure. Mike, before you go to your question or your comment, do you know approximately within the context of those 50 trees, how many are in the cemetery area?
When my computer starts up, I can give you an exact number, but the closest one is 4 feet from a gravestone.
Oh my gosh.
There's a photo.
Okay. So go ahead.
But
You want me to pass that around?
sure, if you want.
Yeah, so I definitely think we should swap that tree, just to.
And the broader point that is that I think it's not just an old cemetery, but it's actually has potential as a like a historic site, that it could actually be like a tourist destination. I mean, it's not going to be like giant like the Farmers Museum, but I can imagine this is basically the village of Richardson Mills was started basically the same time in 1800 as Oneonta was. This was Milfordville, and that was Richardsonville. And we grew and they didn't. But essentially, the oldest house in the town of Oneonta is up there. It's an 1804 house. It predates Swart Wilcox by a few years. That's on private property, but right next to city land. And then adjacent to that, there's a sort of a village cluster of 5 house foundations. So, I mean, I could see it with some historical signs and stuff, a place that, at least school groups would go see.
So your concern is you have multiple, but certainly a priority of your concerns is around the cemetery. Katie, obviously, you've said the same. And so that being the case, if there is a consensus among council that the city administrators should pursue discussions that might involve swapping out for the trees that are affecting that particular area, that's a council determination. But before we land on that, Don?
My main concern is the stream banks, and it only involves a few trees, but the older trees are cut down. There will probably be significant erosion of the stream banks, and Mike took me to the area, and the stream banks are in some places quite steep. So if it's only a total of roughly 50 trees, those would be the ones that I would be most concerned about.
Okay. All right. So, yes, Cecilia.
This isn't going to advance the discussion about what charge we provide as a council to the city administrator, but I just want to go back to Scott's initial point about OCCA's meddling in council business. And I think I want to throw my support to that argument, that I think it is really just out of line.
Sure.
And I think we should have a broader conversation about organizations that are, if this occurs again, that there has to be some sort of consequences, or that we have some sort of council statement.
Sure.
Again, it's not advancing the discussion about the tree swap,
But
but I do think it's an important, distinction here, and
Sure.
I want to just thank Scott for bringing that up, because initially, I was really of the sort of mindset that they were attempting to broker, but I think with our discussion, it's become clear that the brokerage part is actually overstepping their bounds.
And a bit of an end run around as well, obviously, if neither Greg nor I were involved in any of that. But to the larger point, so that point made will be, I'm sure, something that is top of mind for folks as they come into this office, and the council as they, as they continue. But in the meantime, in the short term, what we want to do is see if we can get to some resolution here. Yes.
Can we do it like maybe block by block? Can we at least like look at the cemetery part first and make sure that we're all in agreement with the cemetery? And then to Don's point about the stream, and go, because I'm still don't know where all the trees are going up the stream line. Right now, looking at the map for the cemetery.
So I don't know that we need much more than a show of hands for the direction of the city administrator. Right now, what we're doing is we're asking him to do more work than was originally on his plate. He's already made that clear that this is not something that is unaffecting. But if that's the council's decision relative to the, yes?
I'm sorry, I have more questions about the cemetery.
Sure.
Because I'm just thinking, in my head when I was thinking about it, I'm thinking these trees are gonna be, cut, and then the stumps are gonna be ground, and I don't know that that's the case.
No.
So, is it possible to remove, in your professional opinion, is it possible to remove the trees without disturbing the land? I mean, because they'll have to get close with big machinery, and potentially trees could fall, and because trees can fall anyway, you know what I mean? So I don't know if, I don't know, I just wanna make the most considered decision possible.
Yeah, I'm certainly not an expert, I'm not a logger or
That's-
forester, so I would
sure.
defer to Rod Jones.
Okay.
And I know that Chris Yakuchi's talked with him about ensuring that we protect the cemetery, or I see there's a photo of a tree right next to a gravestone. I'm not sure if they've changed any approach there. I've emailed Chris during this meeting to ask, but I won't have the answer tonight. So I would have to defer to someone else. How
Okay,
close
that's
can you cut a tree?
Right.
And be reasonably assured that it's not gonna fall on the gravestone?
Right, and like,
Because they are not grinding the tree, the stumps, or removing stumps.
right, I mean, theoretically, a stump is not a problem, it's the extraction of the tree without damaging the site that is concerning, so.
And knowing, I'm not a logger either, but
Yeah.
knowing the cemetery now as I've come to, it might be tight.
Might be tough.
Elaine.
No, I keep coming back to that too. I am also not a logger. I am also not an expert. I don't even know if I am saying riparian correctly. But I've been, I did some searching on it, and, just to get a better context. And again, I don't understand a lot about it, but what I read is that there is some management that should be done in these zones. And I trust, that our city staff and that the logger, that we've been working with has been taking that into consideration. So again, I respect that, there is more that we could do in the future, and we should protect, assets, and historical sites, like the cemetery. So I think it makes sense to ask questions. But again, with that in mind, I don't, I'm again concerned about the cost impact too of altering our contract. And we all know how tight our budget is, so I just think those are things that we should take into consideration.
Shan.
just like in addition to, right, like bringing, you know, someone in who knows about the trees, I feel like we also should probably bring somebody in who knows something about like maintaining the graveyard, because I'm assuming once we mess with the trees, then the roots get messed with. Are the roots mixed up in the casket? Like, what, you know, what does that look like? Is the ground get soggy? How do you fill that in? I feel like there's more than just the tree at hand.
Sorry.
5 seconds.
You said, I'm sorry, we I can't go down the road. Yes, Scott.
Would it be more beneficial, I mean, if they're working in a different section right now, it would be more beneficial to have Chris here to be able to bounce questions off of Chris, since he was the one that was involved with this.
Are they working in a different section right now, do you know?
I'm not sure what their schedule was exactly, but.
Mike?
I can answer a couple questions. They are currently working below College Camp. Last week they cut 2 of the trees that we were hoping to save, but I don't know what they're cutting this week. But I can get, I pulled it up now, so I can give you guys numbers if you want for the different sections.
Sure.
For the area around the property up with the graveyard, and there are 20 trees plus, there's also marked in a separate category the ash trees, which need to come out, and I think its request was just like with the ash trees to be like careful not to disturb when you're going in there. But so essentially 20 trees. The site below College Camp, give me a sec, since of this document. Total was 33, but now it's 31. And maybe half a dozen of those are ashes, where again, it was just, everyone agrees the ashes have to come out, so it's just a question of being sensitive. The site along Oneonta Creek, by the lower site, there were 21 trees, but they've all been cut, so that's irrelevant now. And then the last site up by Hole Road, it is 3 trees plus 7 ash.
So we're sitting between 50 and 60, depending on if you count the ash. 20, most specifically, in the area around the cemetery.
Mark?
Yes.
The problem is where's the ash trees in relation to these other trees?
Right,
Where
because
we
you
have
need to
cut
get,
these other trees to get to the ash
that's
trees,
exactly
so
right.
I don't know what, that's why I think you kinda have to have somebody here that we can bounce questions on.
Yeah.
I don't feel like we have
I
enough.
feel like we're finding some consensus around the fact that we don't have anywhere near enough information. Go ahead, Cecilia.
I'm wondering if we could, you know, provided Scott is the chair, but if we could move this discussion to quality of life and have Chris have an open discussion about.
Mm-hmm. When's the next click meeting? When is
Monday.
you? Is it Monday?
Oh, that's good.
And Chris is back from vacation? This sounds like a plan. All right, that sounds like a plan. It's not, yes.
The only, I mean, I think Greg should send some message to the company. I know that they were, after somebody complained last week, that, or I don't know whether it was OCCA or somebody else, complained that 2 of the trees that were on the list got cut. They were holding off until this meeting from not cutting anymore right there, but I don't know how long they'll hold off, so.
So your suggestion is council direct the city administrator to essentially put a hold on cutting?
I'm not saying overall cutting, but on those, I mean, if it's possible, to wait until click for those 20 trees, and if it's not possible, at least let them know that we're in discussion about the other sites.
There's 2 different companies working up there, isn't there?
This is all green lumber, I don't think, the other one's pretty much done.
I think they're in a different area. Yeah, I mean, to have a more informed discussion about specific trees that OCCA has identified, we'll need to have our forester go out there and advise us. So essentially, you'd be saying, yes, go ahead and look into this and tell us what it would take to do. I don't think having the same discussion with Chris here, we're gonna have the information from our forester as to what can be done, if there are ash trees in the way, if.
So are we suggesting that the folks that are looking to help sit down with our forester, or don't sit down, but rather go out into the woods with our forester and make the
If the
determination
council
around
would
that?
like us to look into what it would take, to spend the time, potentially money, to see what it would take to reduce this project scope in these areas identified by OCCA, then that's the direction I would need to tell Chris to spend any effort on that, and our forester who may, I don't know if there would be a fee associated with that, that's not part of his scope to identify the scope for cutting and then go back and change it.
So that's what's put in front of council right now, okay? So that's pretty clear. And so I'm just gonna go around the horn and ask how people feel about this. Is it something that we should direct, that the council rather should be directing the city administrator to do, or no? Elaine?
Not at this time. I think we need further information and to talk to DPW.
Okay. Cecily? No? Shannon?
I agree with them.
That's a no?
That's a
No.
Okay, it's a no?
What exactly was I'm confused on what you were asking. If we say yes, it's to pause the project. If we say no, it's they continue.
No, the no is we're pausing.
No is for
No,
pausing.
wait,
Wait.
I thought the no was not a pause.
Correct.
I don't know.
We're not,
I'm not
there's
ready.
no pause.
Yeah, it was
Right.
not to pause. It was,
Well, I mean, just, if you're gonna instruct the city administrator to go or whatever to talk to the company, you gotta pause the project.
My response
Right.
was no,
Right.
don't.
So no to telling the city
That's-
administrator to go
that's,
do.
yes,
Okay.
that's inferred,
I'm
but
a
yes,
little
you're right.
confused.
So again, so the direction is, the question is, are we directing, or is the council directing the city administrator to essentially pause the project and talk to folks, to identify trees and determine, potential swap outs?
No, I'd like to
No.
more
No.
information.
No.
No,
No.
no, no.
I'm actually on the fence, cause I think probably Monday's probably soon enough, I'm just nervous.
No for the pause.
Okay, so we'll bring it to click. Okay, and anxious to find out what comes out of click. All right, so that was our boards and commissions report. Thank you very much to our liaison for the report. We'll move on to our committee reports with Community Wellness Committee, and that's Elaine.
Yep, so we had our Community Wellness Committee meeting, and we have a couple of things that we've been focusing on. First of all, we've been talking about housing security. So I would like the public to know that the warming station is open now for the season. And we relatedly had a meeting of the Homeless and At-Risk Coalition today in the mayor's conference room with a grouping of nonprofits and other, folks in the city staff. And we've also been touching base on food security, which we know is a big topic right now. So that's something that we'll continue to talk about. We reviewed some community health needs assessments to get some ideas of trends that are out there and places that we might be able to make a difference. And then some of our other topics that we're touching base on still are volunteerism, public health topics that we're hoping to present to the public, through forums or other methods. And we're gonna continue to research ways that we could bring cooling center to the city for 2026.
Great. Scott?
Is the warming station the same spot as last year?
Yes, yeah, warming station is in the same spot, yep.
And they're full up.
Yeah, and that was what we heard this afternoon, is that they are full, and they're full every day. And we are again, just to touch base on where housing stands in our community. We lack enough housing for the folks who need to be housed, so DSS is continuing to need to place people outside of the county to find the housing that they need. And so there are some key elements with housing that we're lacking, placements for folks to go to that are transitional in nature, filling in, different areas on the continuum of housing care that's needed. So it continues to be a need, and we hear it. And we also heard, I will mention at the meeting this afternoon, concern that when solutions are presented, that there's a lot of misunderstanding, sometimes that comes from the public in, accepting those solutions that are presented and, even escalating to protesting those solutions.
Further questions or comments? Thank you very much, Wayne. All right, moving on to our Finance and Human Resources, whatever that word is, committee. Cecilia?
Thank you. So we approved Shane Gable to the Airport Commission, and we heard about a potential capital improvement project, which was to create accessibility, ADA accessibility for the Armory. Thank you very much, Don. The word escaped me. I could see the image of the building. And that really brought to light, our discussion brought to light really, the future of that building in terms of the city's possession, and then moving forward potentially with having another organization acquire it and so forth, and that's still kind of unknown, but we had a discussion. We're gonna have a discussion more broadly with council about this grant this evening. So we also approved a lease for the trailways, which again speaks to the fact that the Market Street project and the transit hub is almost complete. And we heard some discussion about the pension benefits for police, and we went over more generally as a council, not just as a committee, but the personnel manual for 2026. That's it.
Okay, questions, Don?
Cecilia, having words escape you, just wait 50 years.
Probably even sooner than that, but thank you for.
We'll go with 30.
All right. Questions? None? Thank you very much, Cecilia. All right, then moving on to our approval of warrants. Do I have the number? Oops.
Yours didn't print for some. Did
That's
you
all
print
right.
your own?
Yeah, I did.
There you go.
All right. Oh, I have the number. Okay, approval of warrants. Motion number 2, that the common council approves the warrants totaling $1,140,878.48, and that the same be placed on the finance director's desk for payment as presented. Do I have a motion to approve? I've got Don, followed by Elaine. And
Councilmember Mosher Campoli?
Aye.
Councilmember Walsh Russo?
Aye.
Councilmember McHugh?
Aye.
Councilmember Lepari Shu?
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington?
Yes.
Councilmember Forrester Rothbard?
Yes.
Councilmember Matheson?
Yes.
all right, and before I move into the consent agenda, again, I'll ask, is there any motion that needed to be removed that wasn't in the timeline that you guys had to look at? I see no hands, so good. And I want to recognize, again, volunteers make the world go round here. And Shane Gable is stepping into the now vacated seat in the Airport Commission. I know I join everybody else here in wishing him well there. And with that, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? I've got Elaine, followed by Scott.
Councilmember Mosher Campoli?
Aye.
Councilmember Walsh Russo?
Aye.
Councilmember McHugh?
Aye.
Councilmember Lepari Shu?
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington?
Yes.
Councilmember Forrester Rothbard?
Yes.
Councilmember Matheson?
Yes.
All right, and now with that, we go to our city administrator for any remarks that he may have.
Just a quick update on the roundabout. I did hear from New York State DOT again this morning. We had a question about that. Ball has left, unfortunately. The signage, guide rail, lighting, striping work does remain to be completed. The pavement markings contractor is intended to be here tomorrow to finish their work. Once that's complete, so I'm assuming later tomorrow or the next day, the Lettuce Highway southbound lane would be open. That would help alleviate some of the traffic congestion for sure. They will need to close that again for a few days when they do the lighting installation, but until that happens, which I don't have any date on that, southbound going to south side.
Oh, do you see me?
Right, yeah.
Northbound would remain with one lane open as it is now. And as was reported, they do intend to complete everything by the end of the year. I'm not sure the exact schedule. I know that lighting has been on a delay as far as receiving the equipment and some other things. Guide rail needs to be installed, so that's the only update I have from what I think was reported in the Daily Star.
The Daily Star quoted quite liberally at this meeting. Anything for Greg? Nothing, okay.
That was very helpful. That came up at my board meeting yesterday, so
Yeah.
I was gonna ask.
All right. Mayor's remarks consist of nothing tonight, you're welcome, and we'll move into our discussion agenda. With motion number 7, that the Common Council approves the following resolution. Resolution authorizing an application to fund accessibility improvement through Small Cities Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, Public Facilities Program Grant. Whereas the City of Oneonta desires to apply for up to $1 million in financial assistance through the Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Public Facilities Program, and whereas the application proposes funding to assist with accessibility improvements to the city-owned armory, and whereas the estimated cost of such improvements exceeds the maximum grant limit of $1 million, and the required local match of up to $300,000 will be funded from the general fund. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the city administrator of the City of Oneonta is hereby authorized and directed to file an application for funds from the New York State Office of Community Renewal through the Small Cities Community Development Block Grant Program, and upon approval of said request, to enter into and execute a grant agreement with the state for such financial assistance to the City of Oneonta for ADA improvements of the armory. And be it further resolved that the City of Oneonta Common Council authorizes the city administrator to order any necessary budget amendments, budget revisions, and/or transfers, and to take any actions and to provide any additional information that might be required to undertake the proposed grant application acceptance or execution. Do I have a motion to approve? Scott, followed by Elaine, and discussion. Seeing no discussion, we'll call the vote.
Councilmember Mosher Campoli.
Aye.
Councilmember Welch Russo.
Aye.
Councilmember McHugh.
Aye.
Councilmember LaParishu. Give her a second.
Yep. We can come back to her. Continue on if you want.
There's an order.
Okay. I'm under the impression we didn't need to follow that order.
There is an order.
There's an order. All right.
Stare. I see the stare. I hear it from across
With
the
the
room.
extra time, maybe votes will change.
We can always skip and see if it passes, then if it doesn't, someone's gonna bring it back off the floor.
There is an order.
We don't argue with Carrie. If I've learned anything in 4 years. 6, I guess.
I'm gonna get that Buffalo News tree.
Here she comes.
Literally.
Carrie said we can.
Gee.
We were voting on the motion,
OCD.
motion number 7, and we had gotten to you, and we're hoping that your vote is one that will allow us to move to Scott.
Oh. I missed the whole discussion on that? I thought
There
we
was
might.
none.
There really was
Really
zero
good.
discussion.
It
No
was
discussion.
none. Just read it.
Okay, no.
Councilmember Harrington.
Yes.
Councilmember Forrester Rothbard.
Yes.
Councilmember Matheson.
Yes.
All right. Okay, with that, takes us to any additional business or anything for council consideration? Oh, my goodness. Yes, you do. Take that. And while Ginny is doing that, there is something I was remiss in not bringing up, and I should have. I put together a proposal for a task force to determine a couple of properties that might be considered for community gardens in the future. And so I've asked Celia Reed, who I think most of you know, to chair that group. She's picked 4 additional folks. The task force is ad hoc. I'll share with council by way of email, because I don't happen to have it here right now, the charge of that task force and their reporting expectations. So anyway, Community gardens are a really good thing. Jenny, you want to tell us what we have?
Mayor, first, I apologize for being late and that these weren't on your desk when you walked in. I was printing, as Katie saw me doing before the meeting, and I apologize, I missed the beginning of the meeting. Did anybody discuss my memo?
We did not.
No?
We were waiting for you, Jenny.
Okay, thank you. So what you have in front of you is the tentative budget as modified from last week's budget discussion. And for the public, I just want to go down the changes that were made. So we eliminated $15,000 for equipment rental for our streets. We eliminated $4,000 for our break room repairs for City Hall, $6,000 for break, bathroom, and supply repairs for the Parks Building, $5,000 for cleanup services and code enforcement. We adjusted contingency $4,100 by decreasing it. We eliminated the additional fire overtime by $126,250 with the related retirement of $46,000 and the related FICA of $10,000. And then I had found an error that was in the code enforcement budget for $2,900. It was a title change for an employee that happened after the budget was started, so I made that adjustment. So as a result of those changes, the tax levy was decreased by $213,450, which leaves the tax levy increase from 2025 to be a total of $350,000, which is 6.3%. And then, as I said, I adjusted the contingency budget after all of those adjustments were made. So now the tentative budget contingency is a total of $195,900. I updated the fire overtime for you, so you will know how much is appropriated within the 2026 budget. And that between overtime and the related fringe benefits, it's $477,325. The police overtime, between overtime and again, the retirement and FICA is $461,000. We talked about doing it on a monthly basis, whatever the council's gonna come up with the overtime policies, but the fire overtime averages with what's in the budget is $18,359 per payroll cycle, and the police overtime is $17,731 per cycle. And I just wanna make a note. I know the budget discussion was difficult and a lot of things were going over line by line, but please note that the budgets for the other departments within the general fund had several small dollar cuts. But we've got over $938,000 appropriated just for public safety overtime. So I just wanted to put that in front of you, to put it in perspective of what the other departments are doing with small cuts, where almost $1 million is for this purpose. And then also the tentative budget that's in front of you compared to what I submitted last week has just got some few minor editing corrections. And the equipment schedule, the detail for code 5110, unfortunately did not have the proper descriptions last time, but they have been updated. And in summary, the general fund, I wanted to just put it into the memo in case you did not see the graphs, but if you look at the graph on page 13 for the 5-year history, you will see the general government support is 4.1 million, which is 18.4% of the budget. Public safety is a little over 11 million, which is almost 49% of the budget. Health is 3,000, which is a very small percentage. Transportation is just over 3 million, which is 13%. Economic assistance and opportunity, 51,000, which is about 0.25%. Culture and recreation, 1.1 million, 5.1%. Home and community services, 571,000, which is 2.5%. OPEB benefits, and for those people that don't know that, that's post-employment benefits. It's for our retirees' health insurance. It's 1.2, which is 5.5%. Debt service is also 1.2, almost 5.5%. Interfund transfers is 80,000, which is 0.35%. So I'm saying this just for the listeners to know what we're looking at. So that is a breakdown of where the services are being funded within the general fund budget. And as far as the water and sewer funds, we went with there was no changes to those budgets. Also with OPT or Central Garage, Community Development, the public arts budget is in here for $13,000 for next year. And does anybody have any questions?
Yes, Katie.
Could you just elaborate a little bit on the contingency? Because I know that during that, discussion that we had, a very long discussion, we had talked about bringing it up to 26,500, and then basically the next meeting, we kind of walked back all of those things, but I see that it hasn't gone down by the 26,500.
And the reason why is because instead of doing a $300,000 tax levy, it was agreed to do $350,000.
But my understanding was that that was to reduce what we're taking from reserves.
No, what it was to do was to fund, what we ended up doing, what I asked about the cyber insurance, which was $25,000. So of the additional $50,000, 25 of it went to fund the cyber insurance. And then I got no direction for the difference, so what I ended up doing was putting it into the contingency. And you can always vote to make that change if you want.
I'd like to move that we make that change from contingency to reduce.
The problem is, we voted on this at the top of the agenda.
Yeah, but don't I get to make line item changes at this point?
The tentative budget was approved as presented. To make changes should have been make a line item change and then
Prior
approve
to
the
that.
amended. I mean, I don't know.
Doesn't mean we can't make a change in the future, Katie.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just, in the future, I wish we would stick to what's the protocol so that we all get the opportunity to have the discussions that are, prescribed. Thanks.
Done.
So the total expenditures will be 32.
Well, that's all of the funds added together.
Right, so our total budget is $32.9 million.
Citywide.
Right, and that's up
9.76%.
Right, 9.76%. So we're spending 9.76% more in the coming year.
We are budgeting, we're appropriating that much more, correct.
Scott?
What was the code enforcement correction you had to make?
We had a title change for one of the code enforcement employees. I want to say it was after the budget was started.
What was the
It-
title change?
It was code enforcement, I think inspector to, code enforcement ordinance inspector to code enforcement inspector. They went from ordinance inspector to code inspector.
So this is an extra $2,900 because they went.
Yeah, and he's already received the base adjustment. It just was missed in the budget, and I apologize that wasn't caught.
That was something we talked about, I forget, it was like around April, I think, of 25, so it was in the 25 modified budget that happened.
No, I remember the discussion now when I was asking, I was just kind of like,
That was an oversight. When I proved it, I just didn't catch it.
how many pages you got here, Ginny? If that's the only mistake in here, you'd be great.
That's impressive.
Well, Ginny, so we all got your email on Sunday at around 6:20, something like that, which I think we all know came from your devoting yet another weekend and however many countless evenings on top of your work days. And I think it's a small thing, but I think we can all give you a
Oh, no,
round of
please, no.
applause.
No. It's not needed.
Thank you. Thank you so much for everything you do.
Thank you.
All
All
right,
city staff does it.
if there's nothing else for council consideration, there's no reason to.
I just have something
Yes,
real
go ahead.
quick. I
Oh,
just
yeah.
wanna, advise the public to be aware of, scams that might be going around. I personally had somebody knock on my door yesterday and insist that they Bluetoothed, AirPods to my location, and so I did report it to the police, who have informed me that incidents like that are increasing. So just be aware, and I just wanted to put that notice out to the public that it has to be reported to the police. So if you see anything, say something.
There you go. Okay. All right, with that, we're adjourned.
Thank you.